Hey guys, welcome to Coffee Combos. This is an extra surprise bonus episode since we got a huge, good response from our last bonus episode. So we decided to release another one.
So exciting. I kind of like this, like 2 a week.
Yeah, I think we could get used to this, but we won't make any promises until we know for sure.
What
oh my gosh.
have you been doing?
Okay, so you know what? I was in a little bit of a funk yesterday. It was raining. I just had a ton of stuff going on. MTV's been trying to film with me yesterday and today because of my launch party on Friday. And my sister's flying up from Dallas. I think that I told you guys before. She's having a baby, and just like reconnecting and just trying to get closer is like really important to me. But also like they obviously want to follow that for Teen Mom. So it's just been really stressful because I leave on Thursday for New York and I'm trying to fit all my appointments in before that. And then I have to schedule podcasting, which takes a big chunk of our time during the day. So just running around like a chicken with its head cut off is all.
Well, okay. So yesterday, Jackson, was such a good child yesterday, and it's days like that I'm like, okay, I could definitely do another one just because he was so good. And then when Will got home, it's like Will's personality and Jackson's personality, I've talked about it before, they like sometimes just don't mesh. And I don't know if any of our listeners are like about the signs or whatnot, but Jackson is a Capricorn and Will is a Taurus. So that's just like not a thing. And Will comes home and he immediately is like, Jackson, you're hitting. We have a hitting room in the basement, and that's where Jackson like practices his swings in the wintertime when it's too cold to go outside. So Jackson is like, no, I don't want to hit. It's constant battle every single day. So I'm cooking dinner upstairs, and Jackson starts running up the stairs, and he slips on the stairs and gets like his ankle bruised or something, who knows. And so he's downstairs trying to like bargain with Will. He's like, I really can't hit today. My ankle's bruised. And I'm like, this is just so dramatic. And I'm just so sick of listening to like these two fight. So I will be happy for them to get a break from each other on Saturday when Will goes to his parents.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, sometimes I feel like that about my boys. Like, as much as I never want to give them up and they go their separate ways, I'm like, they kind of need this break to go to their dads because they argue so much.
Yeah.
But they also love each other just as much. So I'm like, you guys need this break, and then you guys are so excited when you come back. So Will and Jackson are probably the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like two kids, like a really grown kid and then like a toddler. So speaking of, we actually had a question for you that somebody had asked, tips on how to adjust with missing your kids when sharing time. So you were kind of just talking about them getting a break from each other when they go to their dads. Like, how do you feel? Like, was it an adjustment period when you started sharing time, or like, was it just so long ago you can't remember?
Well, so for Isaac, since Joe and I split, I've always had to give up time. It was hard because it's like, at first you're not really sure what to do with yourself. You're like, wait a minute. Okay, they're gone for 3 nights. Like, what do you do? But I was also so young, and I was working 2 jobs. I was going to school. So like, I feel like my mind, I was like, what the hell do I do? But at the same time, like, I knew I still had to go to work. I could pick up extra shifts. Like, I could study. So that wasn't, too crazy. With Lincoln, the state of Delaware does 50-50, pretty much all around. So when Javi got home from the deployment, we had already agreed we're going to do 50-50. And I kind of was like, okay, this is going to be hard because I just went from having Lincoln for 6 months and I didn't have to share him at all to now I'm not going to see him for a week at a time. So that definitely took some time to adjust. But I also, at that time, because I was also going through the divorce and there was just so much going on, I had a really good support system in my friends and stuff. So they would come spend time with me and Isaac, because I still at that time didn't have Lincoln, but I still had Isaac. So that was really hard. Just really keep yourself busy. I mean, if that's just like folding laundry or it's like getting errands done, I try to keep all my stuff for when my kids are with their dads, because not only does it keep me busy, but it keeps my mind off of, you know, the fact that they're gone. So, and then same for Lux. Like, I hate that. When I first started giving Chris Lux more, I cried so hard because I'm like, okay, Chris and I went through hell. Like, we went through hell and back. So I really had him. It was kind of more of like a situation with like Lincoln. Like, I had him pretty much all to myself. I didn't have to share him. And then, you know, Chris and I ended up working things out and I was giving him to him more. So I was like, well, shit, now what the fuck do I do? I mean, even now I'm like, okay, I have to keep myself busy, which is good. But I really think that's the only thing that I could suggest is, and you can always call them unless you have an asshole baby dad who won't let you talk to them. I mean, call them and keep yourself busy. Those are the 2 tips from me. Okay, I want to change the subject really quick because here's a situation that I found myself in the other week. I was traveling and I was just planning a little party for when I got home, and I just wanted something simple with friends, food, fun, games. You know, I do game nights all the time with the kids. So, of course, pizza isn't always an easy option to get delivered to your house, and it's super easy to just like order it last minute. So it's never a problem. But I decided to try something a little different for the drinks because you guys know I'm not a huge drinker and it's not like me to have like a ton of alcohol in the house. So I went with something different this time and I used a cool alcohol delivery service called Saucy. I downloaded the app and it only took a couple minutes to set up, and it made my delivery order super easy and like simple for my party. So I loved it because I didn't have to go to the store. I've got 3 kids, and even if they're not here, like, I don't want to make that extra stop, honestly.
And I'm always a fan of making things faster, easier, and more efficient. So that sounds like something I could really get on board with. I think everyone at some point has wished they could just have a beer, wine, or liquor delivered to their home. I'm going to be stocking up for the holiday season, so I think it's a great option. It's like having a fully stocked bar on your phone. Now someone finally decided to do something about it.
Oh, absolutely. And now our listeners can try it too. For a limited time, you can get $15 off when you download the Saucy app and enter promo code COFFEE. That's the Saucy app, spelled SAUCEY, and enter promo code COFFEE for $15 off. Anyway, where were we?
I was seeing on Instagram another one of my friends that actually has her daughter a cell phone so that she's so young, but she has her cell phone so that she can communicate with her kind of whenever she wants to versus having to go through the other parent. And so I was just thinking about like having to share time and what that would be like and like all of the obstacles around it. And I think so many parents have to do it, and it is actually more common than my situation with having both parents at the same house. So I think the divorce rate is like 53% in the U.S. So it's more than half. So I think it's crazy.
Hard because like I don't want to get – Isaac's about to be 9. I don't want to get him a cell phone. I don't think he's ready for a cell phone. But I did get him the Gizmo gadget through Verizon, so he can call me, he can call Joe. And truthfully, like, I don't fuck with Joe right now. So I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to text him. I don't want to FaceTime him to get to Isaac. So he has his watch, and I'm able to communicate with him through that, like text. He can send me voice memos, and he can call me if he needs me. But 2 of my closest friends in Delaware, they're both moms. They both have boys that my kids are friends with, and they're both married. So, and it's so hard because my friend Kathy texted me today and she's like, hey, like, do you want to get with me and Jen so that the kids, you know, we can do like baking and the kids can decorate cookies and stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, absolutely. So then she was like, well, don't you have the kids next weekend? And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's my podcast Christmas party. Like, it's hard because like they don't have to really schedule around their weekends. Like, it's not like they are divorced also and have to share time with their kids. They have their kids all the time. So I was like, I don't have that. I only get every other weekend with them, you know, with my week. So it's hard. And I think you're right. I think the divorce rate is definitely higher than parents being together. It's just, I don't know. The whole thing is weird.
It's just hard, and it's obviously like not the ideal situation, even though it is so common. And actually, Will and I were talking about this kind of going down the road, going to Thanksgiving for our Thanksgiving meal, talking about what's the point of really getting married in today's society, because basically it's become so normal to do everything that married people do, not being married, that what's really the point other than the legal last name to be married, other than just stress and drama and heartache in the event that you do divorce?
I just don't think that today, and myself included, because I mean, I divorced also, I don't think that they value through thick and thin and choosing. I think we've talked about this before. Like, I truly don't think that people, like our generation, is valuing, you know, working things out and staying and not cheating, because people are always looking for the next best thing. So like in our generation, I see it all the time. Like, they're looking at what's next, what's best, what's better, what's instant, what's quick. And then, or the other side of it, I've seen girls are okay. They just think that in their head, okay, I'm the main girlfriend, so it's okay that he has side girls because he's coming back to me every night. They're okay with that. They've settled for that. They think that that's normal. And to me, that's just not normal. I'm not the side chick. I'm not the main chick. I am the only chick. That's it. And I think that people don't see it that way.
I know, like, this world is so warped in thinking. And I don't even know, like, where the thought process started and comes from in regards to stuff like that, because in my mind, that's not really normal. And if anybody is listening and that is your situation, in no way is that a judgment towards you. I just don't understand it. So if you are doing that, then please leave a comment on our Instagram and let us know the justification of why you're okay with it. Just because I would be interested to see another perspective, because you and I both have the same perspective on that.
Yeah, I have a friend who got married recently and has a child with the dad. And she basically like went through hell and back with like cheating and breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together. Ultimately, they got married. They're about to have their second baby. And she basically told me, you know, he's going to cheat and everyone else is going to cheat. So why would I break up with him or not marry him and just to be with someone else who's going to cheat? And I was like, y'all are so fucked up. I'm not settling for that mentality. Do I think cheating happens? Yes. Do I think it's right and condone it? Absolutely not. However, I don't think that you should just settle for cheating and be okay with it. I don't think that you should settle for being a main woman in someone's life. Like, I would never be okay with that.
I'm telling you, like, and then seeing just from like the differences between when we grew up and then kids today growing up is so different that it just makes me really worry about our kids' future. And
oh yeah,
I struggle with that on a daily basis as a mom, of thinking what my child is going to face like in this world that's going to be so different than what I faced. And not that I won't be alive to face some of those same things, but not really, just because the age plays a factor. All right, ladies, do you need more energy or hours in the day? Squeezing in time for your family, work, and hitting the gym sometimes feels impossible. So something's got to give, and it's probably the gym. Body Boss can help. I like the fitness and nutrition bundle the most because it's a must-have guide for everything that you need to be successful, and my New Year's resolution is starting early.
Unlock your dream body with this great 12-week Body Boss workout program at home in just 24 minutes a day, 3 days a week. That's less than 90 minutes a week with no equipment and no subscription. See the results yourself thanks to the hashtag Boss Effect, known as the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, so you burn fat long after you work out. Plus, with the caring pro coaches and a free Facebook group of supportive kick-ass women like you, you're never alone.
Try Body Boss with this special offer just for our listeners and get 25% off the fitness guide at bodyboss.com/coffee. Order now and get free shipping and a money-back guarantee. This is their best deal ever. Get Body Boss for 25% off at bodyboss.com/coffee. 12 weeks from now, you'll thank yourself for starting now. That's bodyboss.com/coffee.
You know what I thought? And this is not a dig at Javi, so I hope no one takes this the wrong way. But, like, so Isaac's been through some shit because obviously Joe and I had him so young. But I will say that, like, I do the best I can for my household. And, yeah, I've had other failed relationships and whatnot. But he sees, like, a healthy, constant relationship in Joe and B. And I acknowledge that. And, you know, I'm happy for him in that aspect. But then I look at Lincoln. And I'm like, okay, so he comes to my house and I've got 3 kids and 3 baby dads and I can't get my relationships together. And then he goes over to his dad's house and, you know, his dad did, you know, introduce Lincoln to several people and then got Lauren pregnant. And now Lauren and him are not married and he has a brother. Like, not saying they won't make it, not saying they will, but, like, what does that teach Lincoln? You know what I mean? So, like, both of us are just fucked up.
I mean, unfortunately, it teaches him that that is the norm. So that's what he kind of probably will expect because that's what he sees.
Right. And so, like, that's been on my mind heavy lately, like, super heavy, because his situation is different from Isaac's and it's different from Lux. Like, Chris and I have always been just, like, on and off. And like I said, I probably went through more hell with Chris than anyone else. But Lux also sees, okay, he goes to Dad's house and Dad's not introducing him to other women that I know of lately. And he comes here and I'm not introducing him to anybody else. So it's like he's going to see, okay, Dad's single, Mom's single. Chris and I both, I think, are going to try to keep any future relationships away from Lux for a long time. And I think that that'll be more normal than what Lincoln sees. And Lincoln is the only one that had married parents.
And it's so sad because you and I were having the conversation about what it's like to go through childhood with parents that are divorced, because I can speak on it because I did. Your situation is a little bit different because you didn't meet your dad until he was 17 years old. And there's 2 arguments there. You can argue that you have dad issues because he wasn't there, or you could argue if he was present and then was like a terrible person in and out, then there's an argument there too. My parent situation was just a bad co-parenting situation all the way around. I think that my dad says that he did what he felt was best, like in our best interest, to keep us from hurt. Like, he would lie about a lot of stuff that maybe would have hurt our feelings if we knew the truth. And I feel like for kids, they really should get the honest truth because they're going to find out eventually anyway. And that's on both sides. You know, that would be like for my mom or my dad. They're going to find out the truth about whatever it is anyway. So why lie?
You might as well
let them live like a lie.
Yeah. Because, I see what you're saying. They think, you know, your parents think that they're protecting you from, you know, whatever it is, but really you're doing more damage. Because at the end of the day, I mean, your children are going to grow up and the world is shitty. I mean, life is not fair and that's just what it is. So, like, not shelter them, prepare them. But then also you want to keep them young and innocent too. So it's like, that's a battle that you face every day. I mean, I can say the same, like, there are things that I'm not proud of that I don't want to tell my kids, but when the time comes, I have to be honest because at the end of the day, they're going to find out the truth and I don't want them to feel like I was lying to them about anything.
And see, you can speak on it from a parent that has been through divorce and is in a co-parenting situation. I can speak on it from a perspective of a child who had parents that did not have a good co-parenting situation. And I just know the hurt that is involved there when the parents don't have good co-parenting and when there's lies that are involved that ultimately you're going to find out the truth. And then you kind of feel like, oh, wow, did I live a lie my whole life and like not know the real deal?
Right.
I just feel like sometimes that the truth is the best policy, and that way the truth is out there. And even though it might not sit right with your kids, at least they know the truth. And there are certain things that are like age appropriate that I understand that like you can't tell them certain things. But then there's also certain things that I feel like you shouldn't cover.
That's what I told Isaac. So, I mean, not Isaac specifically, but I wrote that in my last book because I want my kids. Isaac struggles with, like, if he thinks he's going to get in trouble, he might, like, tell a fib or maybe not tell the whole truth. And I tell Isaac and Lincoln all the time, like, if you're honest, no matter how much trouble you think you're going to get into or how much you think you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, I said, honesty is the best policy because at the end of the day, if you're honest, nobody can question your character or like what you're saying because you've always been honest. And I'm guilty of that too. Like, you know, when some of my friends didn't necessarily agree with me dating Chris, like I would lie about being with him. Like I wouldn't tell them. I'd say I was somewhere else. And at the end of it, it was just like, wow, like they feel betrayed. And I just thought I was hurting them. But at the end of the day, like I'm not laying my head with them. So why not just tell them the truth?
Right.
So I just
you don't really owe them an answer either way, really. But yeah, the truth is just always the best thing. Did you guys know that it has been reported that Americans are overpaying on car insurance by over $21 billion? But searching for a better deal can take hours and typically results in a barrage of unwanted spam calls. Until now, thanks to thezebra.com.
TheZebra.com is the nation's leading car insurance comparison site because it's the only place you can compare hundreds of policies from all the top carriers and choose the best for you.
Plus, they will never sell your information to the spammers, so you won't get all of those unwanted calls or emails.
You can just answer a few questions on a simple, fast form, and they find you the best rates and coverage in your state. TechCrunch said it best. The Zebra is kayak for auto insurance.
It's quick, it's easy, just an honest way to compare car insurance quotes from all the top providers all at once.
Go today and start saving at thezebra.com/coffee. That's thezebra.com/coffee. Spelled THEZEBRA.com/coffee.
So many people have sent messages for us to talk about divorce and what that's like, and for me to talk about what made me change my mind and whatever. And honestly, what made me change my mind was the realization of what I went through as a child. And I knew that I had loved Will for 9 years and that I could go and find somebody else, but the problems might not be any better, actually could be worse. Or the problems might not be the same, but just different problems. So I felt like I owed it to him. I felt like I owed it to my son to try to work it out. And the differences weren't too bad of differences to walk away from a situation. I think it's just become so easy to walk away that, and normalized that you just think that that's the option. And the harder thing is to fight for your family. And I can honestly tell you, as a child who had parents that got divorced, I felt lost. You know, my dad got remarried, had other children. My mom got remarried, had other kids. And you kind of feel like in that situation that you are a misplaced person because they've moved on, and you're kind of left there to sort out your feelings, and you don't really know what your feelings are because you're kind of too young to understand it. But you semi know what's going on. You know it's not normal. And I don't know. It's just like a bad situation all around, whatever way you look at it. And somebody's going to lose in the situation. But I always think the kids suffer worse because the parents move on and find they're happy, and the kids are just a product of a broken marriage.
Joe and I were never married, but I see that. I worry for that in Isaac because even though Javi and I were married, I don't see that. Lincoln's such a different kid, and I think not that he's more resilient or that he handles things better, but they're just different, and they're two different people. But I worry about that for Isaac. Like, you know, Isaac comes here and it's 3 on 3 kids on one parent, and then he goes to his dad's and he's got, V, Joe, and Vivi are essentially like a family. You know what I mean? Like Vivi has both parents. And so like I worry for Isaac in that aspect just because I see so much of myself as a kid in Isaac, and even though I didn't know my dad, I felt so lost and just like misplaced. And I don't ever want my kids to feel like that, especially Isaac, because he's the oldest and he already, I feel like, has more pressure on him as the oldest. Did you feel like that? Did we ever talk about this?
No, I've actually never talked about it really at all, and really not even to my parents really at all until probably the last year of my life. I've always been kind of quiet about it. Don't express your feelings. If you don't express it, it's not real, which long term, that's probably the worst thing to do. Because it feels like it just crashes down like all of a sudden. And it's not that I ever miss my parents being together, because 100% honest, I don't remember my parents being together. I think it is just the dysfunction that was surrounded with the situation. And
can I ask if it was at all kind of what I just described about Isaac's siblings? Like, Isaac sees V, Joe, and Vivi be like a family, and then he goes and he knows that like at Javi's dad, like I do think that Javi was such a father figure to Isaac, and now he sees like Lincoln goes over there and it's super happy, and he, there's so much going on. Is it ever like a sibling rivalry or like envy at all because those parents are together, or no?
I don't feel like there's anything negative towards the other kids per se. Okay. I think it's more to the situation. It's like,
okay,
you've moved on, and not just my dad, just because, he's in the public does not mean that it's just against him. Like my mom too, she moved on, she had other kids. So I think parents that go through divorce, they're just in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because no matter which way they turn, it's going to be wrong. All I would say is a child coming from the situation to try to co-parent as best as you can and try to get along as best as you can, because there are things that your kids are dealing with that they might not even voice to you, but it's the way that they feel. And yes, I guarantee you Isaac feels like when he comes to your house, misplaced. You have, Lux and Lincoln, and that kind of keeps his mind probably off things because he's got playmates. And then he goes to his dad's house, and his dad has a wife and a baby, and he knows that they're always together. And then he comes into the situation every other week. And then same for Lincoln. He's going to Javi's, and now Javi has basically a new family, and he's kind of seeing the same thing. Just not a married situation.
Lincoln, I could just see that Lincoln handles it so differently. Like Lincoln is just so like sees the best in everything. Like where Isaac is more like aware. I don't know. I really think that the divorce was super. Yes, and just like the divorce was so hard on him, and for Lincoln he was so young. So it's a little different. Okay, switching gears. I wanted to tell you this story really quick that happened over the weekend, and I don't remember the context of the conversation. I'm thinking that Isaac might have been eavesdropping a little bit because he's good for that. Like literally he could be upstairs and he'll be like, "What'd you say about me?" And it's like, nobody was ever talking about you. I mean, we were, but like not in a bad way. Something came up about drugs, and Isaac looked at me and said, "What's drugs?"
Oh my
God.
I'm
like, okay, I have 2 thoughts on this. One, I obviously don't want to expose my kids to things that they shouldn't be exposed to, especially so young. On the other hand, I feel like, where the fuck is the DARE program? Because I was learning about drugs at Isaac's age. I would say 4th grade was when they started doing the DARE program. They teach you not to smoke cigarettes. They teach you not to do drugs. You learn these words. And I didn't want to say too much because I truly didn't know how to explain it to him in a way that he would understand. But like we talked about on a previous podcast, like I feel like when you're knowledgeable and you are not necessarily exposed to like doing them, but like exposed in the way that you know what they are, you're not as curious about them later on. I didn't really know how to explain them to him. I said, they're things that you do that you're not supposed to do. Like, I truly didn't know how to navigate that. And like I said, I don't know what the context of the conversation was. I think it was something on a show. I don't know. I don't know what it was. So what age are you guys having the conversation with your kids about drugs and cigarettes and all of this? Because I remember the DARE program.
Well, it's like drugs, cigarettes, let's just cut to the chase, like sex conversations. Like, what age does all of this happen? Because not looking forward to it, not at all.
Well, he hadn't even heard that word before, drugs. Like, I had cursed like a sailor, never questioned me what a cuss word was, but he's asking what are drugs. So I'm like, well, fuck, because now I don't know. I'm a loss for words.
Speaking of drugs, Will's a total dumbass. And
oh my God, I thought you were going to say a druggie.
No, God, he's never touched anything in his life. No. He was like putting on a sweatshirt or something this weekend, and he said like drug rug or something. Like, that's what he called it, like a drug rug. And so, speaking of eavesdropping, Jackson must have been like listening in when he said that. So it came time for Jackson to put on something else to go somewhere. And he was talking about how he was going to put on his drug rug. And I was like,
oh my God. Thanks a lot, Will.
Yeah. Like, do men have any common sense when it comes to like talking about stuff and like filtering themselves?
I don't either, apparently, so it's fine.
I just don't get it. Like, I'm so good and filtered, like, around kids. I can, like, turn it on or turn it off, but I just don't get it. I'm like, why, Will, would you have ever said that within earshot for him to be talking about he was going to put on a drug rug? And then we were on the way to church, and he had on, like, a sweatshirt or jacket or something, and we were sitting in the McDonald's parking lot, and Will was going in to get drinks, and I turned around and Jackson was like, hey, you like my drug rug? And I was like, okay, that's enough. Like, enough.
That's enough. I'm going to send you pictures of my drug rug later when I get dressed. So if you've been a longtime listener, you know that I have an obsession for cute gym wear, especially when it's A, affordable, and B, high quality. Also, not sure about you all, but when I slip into comfy yoga pants and a tank that actually fits my curves and looks flattering and doesn't break the bank, it makes me want to go to the gym 10 times more to continue my fitness journey. So with that being said, we're super excited to partner with a company founded by the beautiful Kate Hudson, Fabletics, a fashion-focused activewear brand with a mission to empower women by making a healthy, active lifestyle accessible to everyone because of its exceptional price point.
No matter if you're ready to zen out in hot yoga, crush it in CrossFit class, or simply take a stroll in the park, Fabletics has you covered and carries gym wear suitable for all types of workout. Fabletics is your one-stop shop for affordable gym wear, and all of their designs are created in-house. Trust me, you seriously can't find these pieces anywhere else. I just did a huge haul of winter pieces that I love. I got some pullovers, cardigans, leggings, some sports bras, a few jackets, pretty much everything that I wear all winter. Before I forget, Fabletics is offering our listeners an incredible deal you don't want to miss. Get 2 leggings for only $24. That's a $99 value when you sign up for a VIP. Just go to Fabletics.com/convos to take advantage of this deal now. That's Fabletics.com/convos to get 2 leggings for only $24. Also, free shipping on orders over $49. International shipping is available, and there is absolutely no commitment when you purchase your first order.
I just got my new shipment in the other day, and let me point out the delivery was super fast. I'm obsessed with my camo leggings. I also have a couple tops to match them, and I just love how comfortable and lightweight they are, and I feel good. Like, I could wear this stuff to the gym. I can also just wear it to, like, run around and run errands, chase after the kids. So the material is super stretchy, lightweight, durable, and comfortable, and I could basically live in a 2-piece by Fabletics all day. It's that freaking comfortable. So, I've already received a ton of compliments on Instagram because I posted, a couple outfits. If you've never tried Fabletics, I highly recommend starting at their collections page so you can see all the pieces that are trending. And Fabletics also releases brand new styles, collections, and prints every month.
Also, a pro tip, if you guys become a VIP with Fabletics, you'll get up to 50% off of regular pricing and instant access to their latest collections. Plus, the best part is there's no commitment to order on a regular basis. You can skip any month. So if you're anxious to get in shape and feel confident, step into your workout routines with trendy and affordable gym wear. I highly recommend checking out Fabletics, and trust me, you do not want to miss out on their very special offer.
Get 2 leggings for only $24, which is a $99 value when you sign up for a VIP. All you have to do is go to fabletics.com/combos to take advantage of this deal now. That's fabletics.com/combos to get 2 leggings for only $24. That's fabletics.com/combos. The best part is that there's no commitment to purchase monthly and free shipping on all orders over $49. Go to fabletics.com/combos. Again, that's fabletics.com/combos. Terms and conditions do apply. So I posted on Instagram some topics that people would like to hear about on our podcast. And people, a lot of them were stuff that we talked about on the last episode. So I was, I felt like we were accomplished. I felt like we definitely are giving the people what they want. But the newest things that people are wanting to hear about, one is if any of our kids have had night terrors, and the other one that popped out to me was getting ghosted by someone you're dating. So where do you want to start?
Okay, well, we'll start with the night terrors.
Okay.
So yeah, Jackson actually has had like it once or twice, and it's like waking up screaming or crying, and then he doesn't even realize what's going on, and then he kind of knows that I'm there, I guess, subconsciously or something, and then I can make him go back to sleep really quick. But as far as like very severe, no, not at all.
Oh, Isaac had them so bad. Actually, I've had a couple like ghosty like things happen with Isaac, and I know it might not sound freaky to you, but it was so scary. So, okay. Isaac doesn't sleep with me. He just never does. He's had his own room since day one. He never slept in a bassinet. He never slept in my room, like even next to me. It was always his own room. So when Javi went to basic training for the Air Force, I had asked Isaac to come sleep with me because I was like, I don't know, I just wanted him to sleep with me. He opened his eyeballs, sat straight up, looked in the air and pointed and said, "She's going home, Mom."
What?
And I said, yeah. He was like, "She's going home, Mom." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was freaked out. And he literally laid back down and rolled over and closed his eyes. I said, "Oh, fuck no, baby. What the fuck is going on?" Right? So I'm freaking out. Okay, so I didn't know what to do. I had my friend come, like, throw holy water all over the house. And I'm like, I don't even believe in this shit. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is scary. Fast forward a couple weeks later, broad daylight, Isaac's awake. It's again in my room in this home. And he looks in the mirror. He would always look in the mirror and he'd be like, "There's cats in the closet." And I'm like, Isaac, we don't have cats. We don't have cats. There's no cats in the closet. And at the time, the closet that I had, it didn't have like doors or anything. And you could, when you look in the mirror that I had on my dresser, you could, like when you look in it, you see the closet through the reflection. And he said it maybe 2 or 3 times. He'd be like, "Mom, there's cats in the closet." And then he would look in the mirror, and you could see him looking at the in the mirror to the closet. And he'd like, "See, right there, there's cats in the closet." And I'm like, "No, there's no cats in the fucking closet." And then we moved to Delaware, and he never had an experience like that ever again.
Like, do you think that it was something in your house, like a spirit or something, or what?
I don't know, because, like, I truly never really, I, like, talk about ghosts and spirits and stuff like that, but, like, I've never had, like, my own experience with it, besides in the shower this morning. Like, I saw steam out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, "Oh, my God, there's a ghost," but then I realized, nope, that's just steam. So, like, I've never really had a real experience with it, so, like, until that happens, I don't know how I feel about it. So fast forward to last weekend, I had a reading by a psychic medium, and he told me that at a certain age, you stop seeing spirits and souls. And I was like, okay, he also got like certain things spot on that nobody would know, but then he also got things so far off that I was like, okay, I don't even really know what to believe because some things were so right and only I would know them.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that either. So I don't know. But anyway, I don't even know why I started telling the story, but it made me think of something else that I need to tell you. I'm just going off on a fucking tangent.
No, you started telling the story because somebody asked about the night terrors.
Oh, yeah, but they're like separate. Isaac had night terrors where he would like open his eyes and like cry and scream, but then like sometimes they'd be closed and sometimes they'd be open, and he would have night terrors, and I would try to wake him up, and then I took him to the doctor for it because he was having so many, and then they told me not to wake him up, so I didn't, but I would get frustrated because he'd be crying for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, there's literally nothing I can do because he's not even responding to me. But then he grew out of them too. Like he stopped seeing cats in the closet. He stopped seeing the girl that was going home, and then he stopped having night terrors. Pretty much by the time we moved to Delaware, he was
cured of the ghost.
4. Honestly. Okay, so let me tell you this other thing. Becky texted me this morning and she was like, why do you have to live so far from me? Like, la-di-da. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, she goes, I blame Javi. And I'm like, but why? And then she was like, because he made you move there. And I was like, well, no, I made him join the military. So really, it's my fault. But did I ever tell you that we were supposed to go to Kansas first? Did I ever tell you that?
No, what?
So when Javi joined the military and got his very first orders, he had orders to Kansas. And we were going to go to McConnell Air Force Base in Kansas. And I had a friend living there at the time, and we would FaceTime, and she would like go look at the houses for us, like so that we could live off base, because we had a Rottweiler and like the baby Isaac at the time, and then the baby was coming. So we picked out a house. It was actually a really cute house. It had like a fenced in yard. It was so cute. And Javi was gonna go, and I was working at the dentist office, and I was like huge pregnant, like big pregnant, maybe like 30 weeks. And he kept calling my phone while I was at work, and I'm like, I can't freaking talk right now. So he shows up, and he's crying, basically, in the lobby at the dentist office. Thank God we didn't have any patients at the time. And he's like, we're not going to Kansas. We're not going to Kansas. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, we're going to Dover. And I was like, where the fuck is that? Like, where's Dover? Like, what does that mean? And he's like, we're only moving 2 hours from home. So that's how we ended up in Delaware.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I never really knew how that played out because it didn't play out on the show like that, I don't think.
No, not at all. They didn't say any of that. So I think when you join the Air Force or like other military branches I'm not sure about, you can do like a dream sheet. And I think it's like, okay, if they have openings for your specific job at these places, which is not guaranteed, they'll try to get those first. If not, they kind of just put you where they need you. And so originally we were going to go to Kansas, and because Javi had put on his dream sheet the closest places to home, just for the simple fact that we had Isaac with Joe and stuff like that, he put Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware, because we knew that Delaware was somewhat close. We didn't know anything about it. And then sure as shit, like I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days before we were supposed to leave. Like they were coming with a big truck to pack up our house to move to Kansas. And 2 or 3 days before before Javi was supposed to leave, because I hadn't gone to court yet, they told Javi that they diverted his orders to Delaware.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank goodness that you did not move to Kansas.
Could you imagine me out in the cornfields with like a cowboy hat on, like rounding up the horses and shit on it? What? No.
All right, guys. Do you ever get the perfect holiday card from someone else and wish you had the time and creativity to do that too? This holiday season, you can with Minted.com. I just made my holiday cards and the process was super easy, and I actually just got them in the mail, and I can't wait to send them out to family and friends. I chose the simple, like more minimalistic and traditional holiday cards, but there's so many options.
So sending out the perfect holiday card is an art. With Minted.com, you can create a unique design made with exquisite materials and be sure it's one of a kind. So I actually just did our family photos last weekend, and I'm super excited because there's a ton of different options for the cards. We just haven't picked them yet.
Minted.com is the only place to get a truly unique holiday card by simply texting them a picture from your phone. This is not off-the-shelf, one-size-fits-all template holiday cards. All the designs are created by independent artists and voted on by thousands of tastemakers, giving you the very best in independent design.
Text a photo to cards 22737 and Minted Stylist will text you back with 5 hand-selected designs showing your photo for you to choose from for free. So you get free custom envelopes and free recipient addressing in a variety of matching designs and hand-styled fonts. Text photo to cards 22737 and new customers will get 20% off and free shipping, but only through the end of the month. Text your photo to 22737 before the end of the month and get 20% off your first purchase and free shipping. Get started right now. Text your picture to 22737.
Okay, so you talking about Isaac seeing ghosts. I have this weird story about Jackson, and it freaked me out.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I never had, like, an imaginary friend growing up. Did you?
Not an imaginary friend. Like, I would talk to myself and be like, hang, like, whatever, but not like a friend. I didn't have a name or anything like that.
Okay, so when we started going to church, at our church that we're at now, Jackson would go like into the baby class while we were in service. And I would be like that psycho mom. They have like windows where you can kind of look through from the other side, but like the kids can't see out, but you can see in. And just kind of like watch him at first because I just was paranoid. Like I didn't want to leave him, whatever. And so he ended up being fine and everything was fine. So a few weeks in, I ask him, like, every time I pick him up after we go to service, I'm like, how was church? And he's like, good. And he kept saying this boy, JJ. And he was like, I played with JJ. And so we would always forget to, like, ask the teacher who was JJ. And then so one week... we were like picking up his papers because they would like line his papers, like all the kids' papers up outside of the class, and you would like pick them up. It had their name on them, whatever. And was picking up the papers, and I asked the teacher, I was like, oh, can you show me who JJ is? And she was like, JJ. And I said, yeah, that's how Jackson keeps saying his name. Like maybe it's like a nickname or something, like JJ. And Jackson had like the most mysterious like grin on his face whenever I asked the lady. And we kept asking him because he would like say that he was like playing with JJ at home and like he was talking to JJ. And literally one day we were just driving down the road and I was like, Jackson, JJ is not real. And he was like, yes, he is. And he would always like smile and laugh. So like, obviously he knew he wasn't real. But yeah, an imaginary friend, and it freaked me out because I thought he was like seeing things.
Is it normal or common for imaginary? I would say, yeah, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of kids have imaginary friends. Like, my father-in-law said he had one whenever he was a kid, and I forget what he said his name was.
I played with, like, dolls and stuffed animals and stuff for so long that, like, they, like, were, I guess, friends, but, like, I didn't have, like, a constant one that was like, oh, this is my friend so-and-so, or, like, I'm playing with so-and-so. It was always just, like, I'm playing teacher with my 12 stuffed animals that I probably had for 6 years. Like, I don't know.
No, like, this wasn't a stuffed animal. This wasn't, like, anybody. This was literally something in his mind that he named, and it was a person, and he named it JJ.
And he just stopped talking about him one day?
Yeah, and, like, that's who he played with, and I was really interested of who JJ was. Like, I wanted to see who he was playing with at church. Like, what does JJ look like? Yeah.
Should we set up a play date? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, like perfect play date because he does not even exist.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, leave us a comment on the podcast Instagram if you guys have children who have imaginary friends, because I would love to hear y'all's experiences with that.
Yeah, or if you had
my kids,
or if you had imaginary friends, like as a kid, because I certainly didn't. I feel like Will's kind of like a weird person that would have. Like Will's very imaginative, you know what I mean, and like Jackson is too. Like they can
What's his sign?
He's a Taurus.
A Taurus. Mm-hmm. When's his birthday? May?
April.
Okay.
But yeah, Will's very, very like imaginative, and Jackson is very much like that too. And I don't know, like I just wish I knew what JJ looked like in his mind and like all this weird stuff. I don't know. Switching gears though a little bit, we had another question that came through that was talking about you supporting your kids and their relationships with their stepmothers. And
me specifically, or just people in general?
Yeah, no, like, do you like foster that relationship with?
Yeah. I mean, how does that make me look for me to sit here and be like, oh, you know, bitter or like nasty about, I mean, yeah, V and I had our shit back in the day, like, I mean, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, but I mean, that's Isaac's stepmom, and, you know, she's been around for 6 or 7, 8 years now, so how would I look to Isaac? Isaac would look back and be like, what the hell? Like, my mom's a
psycho.
bitch. Yeah, like, so why would I do that? And like, for everybody asking about my relationship with Lauren, I do not have a relationship with her. I don't need a relationship with her. I don't want a relationship with her. When we are on the soccer field together, we don't say 2 words to each other. Like, I have no desire or anything for that to happen.
Like, why is it like that? Like,
but that being said, I'll ask Lincoln when he comes home, like, who did you play with at Dad's house? Did you have fun? If he mentions Lauren's name, there's no bad blood. Like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, did she cook for you? Did y'all play? Like, I'm nice about it. I'm not nasty. I don't talk bad about her in front of him. None of that. I just do not want anything to do with her. So, but for Lincoln, like, if he's getting along with her and she's good to him, then absolutely. I mean, he did say, over the weekend, he said that Lauren was his stepmom. And I did correct him on that. And I said, no, I said, she's not your stepmom. That's Daddy's girlfriend. Only because I don't want him to think that. And then, you know, I mean, I don't know how serious they are. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they just had a baby, but I don't know. It just made me uncomfortable as far as that goes. I said, until Daddy marries her, I said, that's just Daddy's girlfriend. But when he marries her, then maybe she would be your stepmom. And then for Isaac, I'm like, you know, V is your stepmom.
Right. Yeah. I think just like
I'm not nasty about it.
Like putting things into proper perspective of what the situation is. But that kind of goes back to like what I was saying about like not omitting from the truth and like telling the whole truth and just giving your kids like the real deal of like, this is what it is. I think helps so much because, you know, he's going to take something from that conversation. Like he will respect that because you were 100% honest. And yes, like they live together and they have a baby together, but they are not married.
Right. And that's what I just told Lincoln. I said, not yet. I mean, maybe one day, but we don't know. I said, so until then, that's just Daddy's girlfriend. I said, you can love her and she can love you, but that's it right now. So, I said, but she is Eli's mom. Like, that's your brother's mom. But just because Daddy and Lauren had a baby together, and I think that was the confusion for him. It was like, well, my dad and her have a baby together, so that's my stepmom. Well, no, because that would mean that Chris is your stepdad, which he's not. So, no, he's definitely, that's not, like, you could look up to Lauren as a stepmother figure. You could look up to Chris as someone, you know, along those lines too. Like, but there's a difference, and I just want him to know. But I don't have any bad blood, and obviously, as long as the step parent is treating my kids or, you know, properly, then I don't really have room to say anything.
Right. Somebody keeps asking this, and I don't know if it's the same person or if it's just like I keep seeing it all the time. But people keep asking if I feel any type of uncertainty in my marriage since like everything went down from the time that I filed from divorce, you know, on Chrisley Knows Best, and all of that was shown until now. And I feel like anybody can relate, because in any type of relationship, I feel like there's always going to be, even if you're like very secure, there's always that what if. And I think that I always, not like every day, but I think sometimes like, okay, well, what would my life have been like had we followed through with the divorce? Like, would he be with somebody else? Would I be with somebody else? Like, how would that have affected Jackson? Like, what does that look like? But as far as like uncertainty, like in the relationship itself, no, not really. I feel like when you go through hard times with somebody, even like friendships or like any type of relationship, really, when you go through hard times, it either breaks you or makes you stronger. And I really, truly believe that. And I think that we're like the best that we have been. So I don't really feel like any type of uncertainty. If there was uncertainty there, then I feel like we need to be coming up with like an exit strategy.
Another plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. Oh, I'm glad that you guys worked it out, because just coming from someone who's divorced and has kids, you know, with different people, it's hard. And then it's like, I guess in the moment you're not really thinking about how it affects the kids. But I think I was, you know, on and off with Chris for so long and so many times that when I was alone, I really thought, oh my God, like, how is this going to affect my kids? And especially now that they're getting older, like, what does this look like for their future and what they give and get out of their future relationships? Like, I do not want them to have relationships like I have. And I hope moving forward, I've learned so much about relationships that I hope that when I'm having a relationship with someone in front of them, that it's a healthy and positive example. Like, I don't ever want to be in a relationship in front of them again until I know for sure that we're in a good place. And even then, it's like, if my kids don't like you, this isn't going to work anyway. So, that's so crazy how, like, to think about how times have changed and like relationships. But I do agree with you about make or break. Like, especially, too, because y'all have been through hell, I'm sure, and back, because that's just how marriage and, you know, filing for divorce can be. I feel like once you see how the other person handles the bad times, like, that'll say a lot to you. Like, if they are bitter and spiteful, they do nasty things, like, you know how they handle it. And if you guys can get through how you handle the bad times, then you know exactly what you're in for.
Right.
Like, and good or bad.
I definitely agree with that. Like, you kind of know what somebody's made of and like what angles they're going to maneuver when you go through a bad time with somebody. And I will say that I was more surprised with how Will handled himself. I think that there was just like a lot of sadness there. But it was like, you know, in waves. So it would be like sadness, but then bitter, but then like okay with it, but then 5 minutes later, not okay with it, you know? So it was like so many emotions and so much stuff going on, but there was just, we could never really 100% pinpoint the things that would be like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a reason to file for divorce.
Right.
It was always like very trivial things. And
that like built up.
Yeah. I mean, just trivial stuff. Like, you know, I'm working from home. I've got the baby at home. You're out on a job. You're having, you know, adult interaction every day. I feel like, you know, I'm doing a job at home plus a job being a wife plus a job being a mother. And I just felt like, you know, he kind of put in his 8 hours at work and then came home, and I was still responsible for dinner, and still, you know, by the time he would get home, Jackson would be bathed, and, you know, shortly later it would be time to put him to bed. I just felt like the relationship was a little unevenly yoked, like as far as responsibilities were concerned. And I know that a lot of people struggle with that.
Feel that way. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just the reality of being in a marriage. And somebody's going to do like a little bit more. And I just kind of felt a little bit overwhelmed and wanted help, but also I was my own worst enemy, because even if I would have had the help anyway, I probably still wouldn't have wanted the help. It was like an inner battle with myself.
That's always hard, like the stay-at-home mom thing, because it's like, I can relate 100%, and I think a lot of people can too. It's like the mother's job goes on, but it's almost like the dad, you know, they work their 8 hours, they come home, and you're not relieved of all your responsibilities. And I think that I always say that if you can make it through the first 2 years of a child's life, like, you guys can get through anything, because those first 2 years where, like, you kind of just don't know what to expect, the diapers, you're up all night, you never, like, if the baby's colicky or there's medical issues or there's this and one's working, when does the mom go back to work? Is the dad going to be stay at home? And there's just so many things. And I see it a lot on, like, Young and Pregnant or 16 and Pregnant, where it was like, okay, the baby needs a diaper change. Well, you do it. No, you do it. No, you do. I don't want to do it. And then you resent the other one because they're not helping or picking up the slack. And it's like, okay.
It's very like the tit for tat, you know, like,
yes.
Okay, well, because I did it last time, you do it. My problem more so was like anxiety of feeling.
Is he going to do it right?
Yeah, like I felt like I wanted help, but I was my own worst enemy because I wouldn't allow him to help. And that was a hard realization for myself, to know that you're doing this to yourself, essentially, you know, even though he's at work and he, you know, you feel like he's just working the 8 hours and then coming home and, you know, eating dinner and playing, you know, peekaboo for 30 minutes and then the baby going to bed. I should have been more accepting of the time that he did have, instead of focusing on the time that he didn't. And I needed to be more appreciative of what he was doing outside of the house, because just because I was working at home doesn't mean that he wasn't really doing the majority of the financials. So I don't know. I just think that looking back on everything, I blame myself for a lot of stuff, but I grew a lot in the struggle.
I hear you. I definitely hear you.
Not to like completely change the subject, but I was just like looking at stuff on the news and came across this article about this girl that hit kids at a bus stop. Did you see that?
I think she hit twins and then a third child or something like that.
Yeah, she was a 24-year-old girl, and this happened in Indiana. And
I did see this.
She was in Indiana, and she was driving a pickup truck, and this was like before dawn. And there was 4 kids that were crossing, and 2 of them were 6-year-old twin boys, a 9-year-old little girl, and then an 11-year-old boy. And the 6-year-old and the 9-year-old were siblings, and they all died.
No, I thought it was the twins and the 9-year-old were all siblings, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, and they all passed away.
They all passed away, and then the 11-year-old was severely injured. And she had told the police that she didn't realize that she was approaching like a stopped school bus. And even though that the arm was activated and the lights were flashing. So I would be interested to know, because it didn't say in the article like what the driving conditions were at that time and like if it was foggy or whatever. But even when it's foggy, like I feel like you still see a red light.
I mean, a whole yellow bus and a flashing stop sign. I mean, surely the sun was already up too. So whether it was foggy or not, you're going to see that.
Well, yeah. And then, I mean, you've got a big, like, how can you miss a school bus?
That's sad because obviously she didn't do it on purpose. And I mean, that's horrible. Like, she truly has to live with the rest of her life. She has to live with that for the rest of her life. Whether she goes to jail or not, or she gets charges or not, she has to live with the fact that she killed 3 children for the rest of her life. That is a huge
Well, you
Like,
feel sadness for like both sides of it because she's 24 years old. Like her life is over. Like she's killed 3 kids and severely injured another child, and her life is over. However,
but then you also feel for the kids and the family because they just lost 3 children.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, you send your kids out into this world, and you know, a lot of people work hours where they might be gone before the bus runs or whatever. You know, they might have left for work already, and they know that their kids are going to the bus stop and they're getting on the bus, and that's just it. And I couldn't imagine being that parent. Not that it would make it any better that only one of your kids, but like all 3 of your kids.
That's horrible. Horrible.
I mean, that's your whole life. And I couldn't
Was the
imagine.
11-year-old siblings too?
No, I don't believe the 11-year-old was a sibling. I think it was another boy. It didn't say. But I wish the article had like the report of, you know, like the police do report if the weather conditions were like icy or if it was raining or, you know, foggy or whatever the conditions were. And I'll be interested to know if after they obtain her phone records, if she was on her phone. Yeah. Because, you know, remember me telling you about the situation when Jackson and I were at that concert and that girl hit those people, those evacuee people? Yeah. So they, like, it took them forever to, like, follow the charges or whatever it was. And they did determine that she was on her phone at the time. So I just feel like with technology and everything, they always find everything out. So
yeah,
I do believe that she pled not guilty, though.
But how? If you were on your phone, you were guilty. Period.
But they don't know. I don't think, like, that'll all come out in court. You know, like, if they have determined that she was on her phone, I'm sure by this point she has an attorney, and, you know, the attorney has rights to work on her behalf. So, you know, I'm sure law enforcement has the rights to obtain the phone records, but they just haven't released that information. But just going back to the story that happened where I live, it took a year before it ever came out that the girl was on her phone. So it'll be interesting to follow this story to see what actually was going on, because they will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh. Well, Kail, looks like that we are out of time for this week. So we will have to catch up with all of our other stuff next week. Thank you guys so much for listening to our shenanigans. And if you guys have not purchased your Coffee Convos podcast Christmas party tickets, they are available on our website. It's coffeeconvospodcast.com. You can purchase them on there. It is being held in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and all of the information is on our website, and we hope that we see you guys there. If you have not followed us on @Coffee Convos Podcast on Instagram, make sure you follow us over there. We put all the information about the podcast there. And if you have not given us a 5-star review on iTunes, then it's very easy to do that. You just click the 5th star on iTunes, and you can also leave a written review. We appreciate all of the support, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Later.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.